Clara didn't know that her dream wedding was on the edge of a dark cliff, ready to tumble into chaos. The excitement buzzed around her like a swarm of fireflies, lighting up each day with sweet anticipation. Her fiancé, Ricardo, was the ideal partner, handsome, kind, and utterly devoted. Yet in the shadows, hidden beneath smiles and laughter, a twisted plot brewed, one that could tear apart her world. Tomas, her best man and childhood friend, wore a charming facade. To the untrained eye, he was the epitome of loyalty, but Clara remained blissfully unaware of the storm swirling inside him. Revenge was simmering, fueled by years of resentment over a business deal gone wrong between Tomas and Clara's father. Their friendship, once unbreakable, was a facade. What Clara didn't know was that beneath his warm greetings and hearty laughter, Tomas was weaving a web of betrayal. Just a week before the wedding, the air grew heavy with unease. Clara's Aunt Anna returned, as mysteriously as she had vanished years ago. Her sudden re-entry sent shivers down Clara's spine. Anna's presence dripped with secrets. Every word she spoke was laced with hushed warnings. In her eyes, Clara saw shadows whispering of a past she had never known. The stories swirling around her family began to morph into frightening shapes. Tales of betrayal, greed, and a hidden legacy that threatened to swallow Clara whole. At first, Clara welcomed Anna with open arms, thrilled to fill the gaps of her childhood with stories. But something felt off. The thrill of wedding preparations now twisted into knots of anxiety, as her aunt's grave expressions grew more frequent. One evening in the dim light of her room, Clara sifted through her mother's wedding dress box for a sentimental piece meant to complete her attire. But what she found inside shocked her to her core. A letter, crumpled and dust-covered, sealed tight. "Never marry into this family," the letter began, the words echoing in her mind like a distant warning bell. Clara's heart raced. What did her mother mean? Was her wedding really a celebration, or a trap laid with love as bait? Doubt clawed at her, unraveling the joy that once bloomed in her chest. As the wedding day loomed closer, Clara waded deeper into a murky torrent of anxiety. Her father's business shadow loomed over her like a dark cloud, while Tomas's chilling smile felt more like an omen than a promise. Were his intentions as pure as he claimed? And could her family's history truly dictate her future? The room spun, filled with whispered doubts. Just as she began to piece together her family's fractured past, a hasty confrontation left Clara breathless. Tomas's words sliced through her like ice. "You really think you can escape your family's legacy?" he sneered before storming out, leaving behind an unsettling silence. Her wedding loomed ahead, and the air crackled with tension. Clara's trust was crumbling. The beautiful day she had envisioned now seemed to be built on quicksand. Would she uncover the truth before it was too late? As she clutched the letter, a sickening chill raced down her spine. Doubt and loyalty fought a fierce battle within her. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I have to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube canceled their subscriptions without warning. Just check out the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And while you're there, leave that like. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching the channel from? I love meeting all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes a difference. Let's interact. The day of the wedding arrived with a dense fog curling around the edges of the cliff, draping an uneasy blanket over the venue. Clara's heart raced with every step she took down there. Aisle, her pulse echoing in her ears. Ricardo stood at the altar, his smile radiant, yet it felt shrouded in layers of uncertainty. As she approached him, her gaze flickered toward Tomas. He stood a few steps back, his expression a blend of palpable tension and muted excitement. Something was off, but Clara pushed the thoughts away. Today was about love, about vows, about forever. Do you, Clara, take Ricardo? The officiant's voice blurred as Clara lost herself in the moment, until another voice sliced through her reverie. Wait! Tomas's shout rang clear, sharp as shattered glass. Clara's breath caught in her throat. The guests turned, surprise morphing into anxiety. Tomas! What? Clara struggled to digest the panic etched on his face. This isn't right, Clara. You can't marry him. His voice trembled, eyes alight with a desperate intensity. The murmurs from the crowd began to swell, questions spiraling around them. What are you talking about? Clara demanded, fighting against the tide of confusion. Her chest tightened, every eye fixated on the two of them. Tomas stepped forward, stumbling on his words. I was going to tell you. I thought I had more time. But he's not who you think he is. Before Clara could respond, he glanced to the side, words sticking in his throat. The tension snapped like a tightrope underfoot. I can't let you go through with this. Your family, Clara. Your mother. She... At that moment, a loud crash erupted behind them. The chapel doors flung wide open. A figure stumbled in, shrouded in fog. It was Aunt Anna, her face twisted in horror. No! Clara, you must listen! Clara's heart pounded. Anna! I was too late, she gasped, rushing to Clara's side. Your mother, she wasn't just trying to protect you. There's more! Tomas swallowed hard, looking between Clara and Anna. It's all connected! Your mother! She was hiding something so dark. Something about Ricardo. It's not a coincidence. Clara's head spun. What do you mean? Ricardo has been nothing but good to me. Good? The very man you're about to marry? Tomas's eyes brimmed with anguish. He's tied to the very business deal that destroyed my family. The crowd erupted in chaos. Whispers turned into frantic murmurs, accusations thickening the air. Clara felt the world tilt. She scanned Ricardo's face, searching for a clue, a hint of guilt. But all she found was panic reflected back. Clara, it's not true, Ricardo's voice cracked. Desperation curling around his words. I would never hurt you or your family. Then tell her the truth, Tomas roared, fury lacing every syllable. You owe her that much. Another figure emerged from the crowd. A man Clara had never seen before. He stepped forward, a menacing presence cloaked in the shadows. She deserves to know the truth before it's too late. Silence fell. Clara's blood ran cold as she met his gaze, recognition dawning like a sudden storm. Who are you? She breathed, her voice barely a whisper. Your real father, he replied, the confession hanging heavily in the air, a shocking twist that felt like a dagger to Clara's heart. Her vision blurred. Everything she thought she knew shattered into 1,000 pieces. Desperate shadows loomed all around her. Who was really betraying her? Who were her allies in this tangled web? The cliff stood. Behind her, an abyss where all her dreams now teetered dangerously close to falling. Her real father. The words hung like an anchor, dragging Clara down into a whirlpool of confusion. What do you mean? She gasped, struggling to find her breath. It felt like the ground beneath her was collapsing. The man stepped closer, his face half hidden in the fog, but she could see shadows dancing in his eyes, familiarly haunting. You have to listen. Your mother made mistakes, dark choices. His gaze swept over the crowd. And I'm here to protect you. A cold realization washed over her. Protect her from what? From whom? The words twisted in her mind. Her heart raced, beating out of control. Clara, you can't trust him, Tomas shouted, panic rising in his voice. He's a liar. This is all part of a scheme. Enough, the stranger snapped, his voice sharp, slicing through the mounting chaos. The crowd buzzed with uncertainty, whispers cascading through like a wave. Clara felt their eyes on her. Judgment, fear, confusion. What scheme? She managed to croak, turning her attention back to the man. Was he really her father? The man she'd never known? Your mother left a trail of secrets, Clara. Your father? He was part of something far bigger than you realize. His tone softened, the urgency seeping in. You are in danger. Ricardo is not just a simple man. His family is tied to a legacy of crime. The word crime hit Clara like a punch to the gut. Could she dare to believe him? The memories of laughter with Ricardo, the warmth of his touch, all of it clawed at her heart, but now felt covered in a shroud of doubt. Clara! Tomas stepped closer, his voice trembling. You have to listen. If he's telling the truth, everything could change. Her breath quickened. If he's lying, it could ruin everything. Stop! Ricardo yelled. His face was pale, drawn tight. This is madness. Clara, I love you. None of this makes sense. But the strain in his eyes told her everything she needed to know. He was hiding something. Then the crowd gasped as Aunt Anna moved forward. Clara, this is not the time to question your past. You need to consider your future. What do you mean? Clara shot back, the words bursting from her. I don't even know who I can trust anymore. Suddenly, a chilling laugh echoed from the back of the room, cold as ice. A woman stepped into view, dark hair framing a face that sent waves of recognition crashing over Clara. Sweetheart, your family has always been complicated. Clara's stomach dropped. Sarah? The woman smirked, her presence radiating confidence. I've been waiting for this moment. Now that you're finally at the altar, it's time for you to understand the real reason behind everything. Who are you? Clara whispered, fear clawing at her throat. I'm a link to your mother's past and a key to your future. The world spun. The wedding, the love, the promises, all threatened to unravel. Clara felt the weight of betrayal crushing her. How could it all come crashing down like this? Clara, Tomas urged, his voice raw. You're running out of time. You have to make a choice. Who will you believe? Clara stood at the center, heart racing, teetering on the edge. Chaos erupted. The air, thick with tension. The cliff behind her loomed ominously. Would she fall into the darkness of lies, or leap toward the uncertain light of truth? The tension crackled in the air, thick as a storm waiting to break. Clara stood frozen, her heart pounding against her ribcage like a caged bird. Each person's face twisted in confusion and fear. The weight of every accusation, every proclamation hung heavy. What do you mean? Clara found herself pleading, her voice breaking, lost between the chaos of betrayal. Clara, listen to me, her supposed father urged. What formed your family ties is not what it seems. Love, loyalty, even blood. There are truths buried deep within your mother's past that could change everything. The profound implication silenced the room, the crowd teetering on the edge of understanding and disbelief. It was then that a low rumble echoed from the cliff, a distant and ominous sound that sent shivers racing down her spine. Clara's grip tightened on the side of the altar, her knuckles whitening with panic. The fog rolled in thicker, swirling around them like a living entity, pulling shadows over familiar faces. "Clara!" Tomas shouted, desperation etched into every word. "Don't let him lure you into his lies. Your life is at stake." His voice rang through the chaos like a bell, each syllable a frantic plea. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled, a violent quake that jolted Clara from her thoughts. Gasps fluttered through the guests like leaves caught in an autumn wind. The ground heaved, and the chapel shuddered as if it were alive. "Everyone, get back!" Ricardo yelled, fear sharp in his tone. He turned to Clara, eyes wide, straining to establish control in the mounting chaos. But before anyone could respond, a massive crack split the ground with a deafening roar. In that split second, reality shifted. The earth beneath them crumbled, and the very cliff they stood on began to fracture. Clara's heart raced as fragments of stone broke away, tumbling into the abyss below. The cries of the crowd faded into a dull roar as the world spun. "Clara! We need to move!" Ricardo's voice pierced through the chaos. But she couldn't tear her gaze away from the man, claiming to be her father, standing mere inches from the growing chasm. "Not now!" he shouted over the chaos. Wide eyes locked onto Clara, urgency spilling from every word. "You need to understand!" But a scream erupted from the back of the chapel as Aunt Anna collapsed, clutching her chest. The sight burned in Clara's mind like a flame. Anna's body lay still against the pew, lips parted, a frozen scream. Staying trapped forever. Silence fell abruptly, punctuated only by the distant crash of breaking earth. "Clara, Tomas's voice faltered, his eyes wide, as he fell to his knees beside her aunt, shaking her as if willing her to wake. "What's happening?" Without warning, the man at the edge slumped against the altar. A hand pressed against the wound on his side. Red seeped through his fingers, staining his shirt. The twist of betrayal wrapped tightly around Clara's heart. "You were never supposed to know," he gasped, choking on his pain. "Who are you?" Clara's voice trembled, each word slipping out like sand through her fingers. "What have you done?" "Everything is connected," he whispered, blood-soaked hands trembling. "The truth about your heritage is drenched in blood. Your mother had a deal with us, and now it's all coming apart." All around her, faces blurred in panic. Ricardo's eyes walked onto hers, fear mixed with desperation. The realization settled heavily in her belly. The love she thought she held had always been entangled in lies and schemes that shaped her very being. And then, as the cliff crumbled, a final shouted warning erupted from the shadows. "Clara, it's not just about them. The past is here to claim you." In that moment, everything shattered. Her family, her friends, her future, all hanging precariously at the edge of an unraveling truth. Clara stood poised on the brink, knowing that whatever lay ahead could tear apart everything she thought she knew. Would she plunge into the darkness, or rise to meet the chilling reality of her bloodline? The air stilled, thick with tension, as Clara tried to process the man's revelation. Her mind raced, her heart pounded in her ears, drowning out the chaos, the murmurs of disbelief, the gasp of the crowd. She stared at him, questions swirling in her mind. This was her moment of truth, but truth felt like poison on her tongue. Then came a faint sound, barely noticeable at first. A soft thud followed by a slow, reverberating crack that grew louder, an echo of destiny. The ground beneath her feet shook again, more violently this time. Clara stumbled, instinctively clutching the altar for stability. The floor quivered like the surface of a disturbed pond, panic rippling through the guests. "Clara!" Ricardo shouted, the urgency in his voice a shout for survival. "We need to go! Now!" Without warning, a deafening roar split the air. The room erupted in chaos as the cliff behind them began to crumble, rocks tumbling into the abyss, dragging everything with it. A surge of laughter pierced the air, dark, cool, mocking. A sound so out of place it stopped Clara's heart. "Did you really think this was a wedding?" The woman, Sarah, stepped forward, a smirk twisting her lips. "This is a funeral for all your little dreams." Clara's breath hitched. "What are you talking about?" "No one is getting out today," Sarah declared, a sinister confidence radiating from her. "Especially not you." In that moment, the ground erupted, cracking wide open. It happened so fast, Clara barely had time to react. The man who claimed to be her father staggered backward, teetering on the edge of the chasm. Time slowed as the crowd erupted into screams, shoving and pushing to escape the chaos. "Clara, watch out!" Tomas shouted, lunging forward to grab her hand. But Clara's eyes never left the man. With a final ghastly scream, he fell, arms flailing, disappearing into the darkness below. A heavy silence followed, and then a collective gasp swept through the wedding party. Clara stood frozen, heart racing, torn between the horror of what she had just witnessed and the chilling laughter from Sarah. "You see?" she continued, voice oozing smug satisfaction. "Your family is more entangled in crime and betrayal than you ever imagined. They've always been predators in disguise." Clara's chest tightened. She glanced at the faces around her. Panic etched into every expression, and the betrayal settled like lead in her gut. Who could she trust? "Don't listen to her," Ricardo urged, trying to pull her toward the exit. But Clara couldn't move, couldn't tear her gaze away from Sarah. "Your mother crafted this fate for you, Clara. Your love, your choices are all part of the game," Sarah taunted, stepping closer, her eyes glinting with malice. "And now you'll be the next victim." The walls trembled as if in agreement, dust cascading from the ceiling. Another crack echoed, louder this time, the foundation groaning under the strain. In that moment, as chaos erupted anew, Clara finally understood. This wasn't just about her past. It was about survival. "I won't be a pawn in this sick she shouted, adrenaline surging through her veins. But just then, in the flickering shadows created by the trembling light, Ricardo stumbled forward. "Nine, Clara," his shout echoed, desperation filling the room. And as he moved, a sudden flash of pain crossed his face, a knife glinting in his hand. "Ricardo?" Clara choked, her voice a mixture of confusion and fear. The love she felt for him turned cold. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice cracked as if he, too, was not sure whether it was truly him speaking. "Ricardo! You? No!" A scream erupted from her, mixing fear with disbelief. The ground shook again, and she felt her world teetering on the edge. Everything she knew teetered. Every decision now felt laced with poison. Who was he really? As light distorted around her, Clara was left with one terrifying question. Was love strong enough to save them? Or was it the very thing that could drag her down into the darkness? Clara's heart raced, caught in a whirlpool of betrayal and chaos. Ricardo's face was etched in confusion, torn between love and treachery. "I'm sorry," he said again, voice trembling. But the words twisted inside her, sharp as broken glass. How could his love bring her to this moment? The crowd shifted, a tide of panic rolling through them. Tomas's eyes were wide, darting between Clara and Ricardo, desperate to bridge the chasm forming between them. "Clara, please, this isn't who you think he is." The ground lurched violently, sending everyone staggering. Clara stumbled, her breath hitching as rocks rumbled down the cliff's edge. "Run!" a voice shouted, but she couldn't move. She was pinned under the weight of her world crumbling. Suddenly, Sarah stepped forward, her laughter ringing out like chains clanking in a dungeon. "Oh, Clara, you don't understand. He's not the only one hiding secrets." The air chilled. Clara felt the razor blade of fear slice through her. "What do you mean?" A flash of power crossed Sarah's face, dark, exhilarating. "You think you've been playing a game? You're not the only one with ties that bind." Before Clara could grasp the implications, the crowd gasped in unison. A figure stepped from the entrance, face cloaked in shadows. The atmosphere turned electric, every breath laden with shock. It was a man, broad-shouldered and imposing, but there was something hauntingly familiar about him. "Clara," he called, voice smooth and deep, cutting through the chaos. "I've come to free you." The crowd parted, their fear palpable, as Clara squinted, searching for a hint of recognition. "Who are you?" she managed, gut churning with anxiety. "Your brother," he revealed, stepping into the light. Time froze. Her world turned into a dizzying spiral of confusion. "What?" The words slipped from her lips, shaky and disbelieving. She had always thought she was an only child, and this revelation felt like a punch to her gut. He held up a hand, palm open. "I know it's hard to understand, but I've been watching, waiting for the moment to protect you." "Protect me?" Clara echoed, disoriented. "From what?" A smirk played across his lips. "From all of this. This family, their lies, the dark legacy that binds you. They planned everything from the start. Your wedding, my appearance." Her mind raced, battling against the tidal wave of revelations. "No, this can't be." "True, you're lying." But before he could respond, another deafening crack echoed. The ground shifted violently, throwing Clara off balance. She caught herself just in time, heart slamming against her chest. "Clara, we've got to go!" Ricardo shouted, frantic hands reaching for her. But she couldn't take her eyes off her brother. "Don't listen to him!" Tomas yelled, voice raw with urgency. "He's trying to manipulate you." "Am I?" her brother shot back, voice dripping with disdain. "Your lives are already intertwined. It's time you knew the truth." Clara's breath quickened as flashes of memories flickered in her mind. Unspoken words from her mother. "Why now?" she whispered, clarity cutting through the chaos. "Why reveal this at my wedding?" His eyes glinted with something else. "Because it's your only chance to escape the web they've spun around you." Just then, Sarah laughed again, cruel and mocking. "You think it's just you against us? Your brother doesn't care about you. Just look at him." "Stop it!" Clara screamed, feeling the world teeter once more. The truth danced just out of reach, an elusive shadow. The crowd gasped as the cliff behind them broke apart, chunks of earth tumbling like fallen angels towards the abyss below. Clara's heart dropped. "Clara!" Ricardo cried, eyes wide with terror. "We need to get out. Now!" With her brother's presence pulling her closer to a terrifying reality, Clara stood at the edge of everything she thought she knew. She had to decide, was this a chance for freedom or another trap waiting to ensnare her? As the ground shook beneath her feet, the choice settled heavily on her shoulders, and everything changed once more. The ground shook again, a violent tremor that sent waves of fear through the crowd. Clara felt her heart racing out of control. The edges of her reality blurred, and all she could hear was the chaos around her. The screams, the cries for help, the sound of rocks tumbling into the chasm. "Clara, we have to go!" Ricardo cried, desperation coating his tone. She could barely think, her focus wavered. But then, amid the chaos, something felt so wrong. It was a shift in the air, a sudden coolness that pierced through the fear. Clara turned her gaze back to her brother, who stood firm. An unsettling calm spread across his face. "Clara!" Tomas yelled, his hands reaching toward her. But she couldn't look away from her brother. "Don't listen to him. He's playing you." "I'm trying to help you," he shot back, brows furrowed in frustration. "You think they care about you? They only want to trap you." Clara opened her mouth to speak, but the words fell silent. Could he be telling the truth? Then she remembered her mother's letter. "Never marry into this family." The words echoed in her mind, spiraling into a whirlpool of doubt and confusion. But before Clara could decide, a flash caught her attention. The man who claimed to be her father was slowly rising from the edge, bloody yet defiant. "Clara," he gasped, voice hoarse, "it's not what you think. They want you for something bigger." "I don't believe you!" Clara shouted, shaking her head. "You've lied to me from the start." Suddenly, shadows danced around them as the fog thickened, wrapping tightly around the figures standing by the altar. The air grew heavy with a sense of impending doom. "Your mother is more than you know, Clara," the stranger pressed, raising a hand. "She kept secrets from everyone, even from you." Sarah's laughter rang out, twisting Clara's gut. "Oh, sweet, naive Clara. Do you really believe that's all there is? The story has barely begun." And just then, a blinding light erupted from the fog. It consumed everything, a searing brightness that overwhelmed Clara's senses. Voices turned to screams, faces blurred into a riot of colors. The ground jolted violently. Clara lost her footing, tumbling into the chaos. As her world spun, she caught a glimpse of everyone, their eyes wide with terror. And then, silence. Clara lay on the ground, breathless. She opened her eyes, blinking against the afterimage of the light. Footsteps echoed nearby, urgent and frantic. She turned her head, struggling to push through the fog of shock. But what she saw stole the breath from her lungs. Standing there was a girl, no older than Clara, with strikingly familiar features. The girl wore a torn dress, her hair disheveled. "Clara," she whispered, eyes widening. "You have to listen to me." Who are you?" Clara gasped, disbelieving. "I'm your twin," she replied, voice shaking. "I've been hidden away all this time, too." "Protect you," the crowd murmured, confusion mixing with fear. The gazes of family and friends turned to Clara, questions filling the silence. Could this really be true? The girl stepped closer, her eyes pleading. "If you don't leave now, you'll lose everything to their game, the dark legacy they've set for you." Clara's pulse quickened, a storm of conflict brewing inside her. All of her beliefs, her understanding of herself, felt like a house of cards threatening to collapse. How could she not have known? "Clara!" Tomas shouted above the crowd, voice thick with panic. "Don't trust her! It's a trap!" But as Clara looked at the girl, something in her heart flickered. The truth felt nearer than ever. Was love really enough to protect her? Or would her family's darkness consume them all? The ground shook again, and Clara realized she had to make a choice. Her past cloaked in shadows, her future filled with uncertainty. Would she step into the light or retreat back into the darkness? Clara stood there, breathless, caught between the shaking earth and the gravity of the girl's words. "Your twin." The realization clawed at her. All her life, she had felt an emptiness, a sense that something was missing. And now, here stood someone who had been hidden away, someone who had the power to change everything. The crowd buzzed with confusion, whispers ricocheting off the chapel walls. Clara's heart pounded as questions tumbled in her mind. But before she could dig deeper, the ground trembled again. A deafening crack echoed, slicing through the tension. The altar lurched dangerously, sending everyone gripping for stability. Suddenly, a blast of wind whipped through the room, extinguishing the flickering candles and plunging them into darkness. Clara stumbled, clawing at the air, her heart racing. "What's happening? Stay together!" Tomas shouted, his voice laced with urgency. Shadows danced around them, chaos wrapping tighter around the group. She barely registered the fragmented screams. "Clara! We need to move!" Ricardo's voice broke through. A desperate plea, but amidst the rush, her focus was drawn back to her twin. "Please, you have to trust me," the girl urged. "They're coming for you." The words sent icy tendrils curling around Clara's heart. Who was coming? Paranoia rippled through her. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, a blinding flash illuminated the darkened chapel. In that moment, Clara and everyone else was momentarily blinded. When her vision cleared, everything changed. The crowd erupted into chaos. The faceless man, the one who claimed to be her father, stood not far from her, hands raised. But in his grip gleamed something sharp, a knife, glinting menacingly in the dim light. "I'm here to end this." He lunged toward Clara with terrifying speed. "No!" Clara screamed, her instincts kicking in. She dove to the side, just as Tomas rushed forward to intercept him. Their bodies collided, a jarring mess of limbs as they fell to the ground. "Get back! He's dangerous!" Tomas shouted, grappling with the man as the chaos unfolded. Clara's breath hitched. What was happening? This wasn't just a twisted family reunion. It was a full-blown attack. Ricardo lunged too, but all Clara could see was her brother's fierce eyes, now filled with that haunting familiarity. "Clara, please, we have to go," he yelled, eyes darting between the brawl and her. In that second, everything seemed to fracture even more. The chapel shook violently, walls cracking. A large piece of the ceiling broke loose, crashing down near the altar. Clara watched in horror as a chandelier broke free, tumbling toward the chaos below. Time slowed. "Clara!" the girl shouted again, urgency cutting through the noise. "It's the only way. You must remember." Then it happened. With a deafening crash, the chandelier fell, crashing through the floor, sending a shockwave that knocked everyone off their feet. Clara hit the ground hard, a blast of pain shooting through her arms. Dust filled the air, choking her breath, making it hard to see. As she gasped for air, a figure loomed over her, silhouetted in the rubble. Clara raised shaky fingers, clearing her view to find her twin, standing strangely still, eyes locked onto her. "Clara, find the truth! You need it!" Just as she opened her mouth to reply, the figure staggered back. Clara's breath caught. Something glinted in the girl's hands. Something sharp. "Wait!" Clara choked. But all she saw was panic washing over her twin's face. "What are you doing?" In a split second, just as the dust settled, the girl pulled back her arm and plunged the knife deep into her own side. "No!" Clara screamed, horror splitting through her like lightning. Blood blossomed around her twin, a blooming flower of crimson against the ruins of their lives. "Trust me," the girl whispered before collapsing to the ground, breaths labored and desperate. Clara froze. The chaos swirled around her, and all she could think was, everything she thought she knew, every thread of connection, it was breaking apart, unraveling with the life spilling from her sister. The room filled with cries, the reality collapsing into a nightmare. What had just happened? Clara dropped to her knees, blind panic coursing through her. Who was her twin? Why would she do this? The truth felt like a distant echo, just beyond her reach. As the world teetered around her, Clara was left gasping for answers, horror creeping in. Everything was entwined in tragedy, and the only thing she knew for sure was that nothing would ever be the same again. Clara gasped, her vision blurring as reality slipped through her fingers. All around her, chaos reigned. Voices blended into a cacophony of panic, screams mingling with disbelief. Blood pooled beneath her twin, a dark crimson stain spreading on the chapel floor. A vivid illustration of everything she had feared. The world felt surreal, like a nightmare she couldn't wake from. "Someone help!" Tomas shouted, frantically trying to stem the flow of blood from the girls. Wound, but each attempt was met with chaos. The altar cracked, dust and despair swirling in the air. Clara could barely breathe. A weight settled in her chest, heavy and unyielding. "Clara, we have to go." Ricardo pulled at her arm again, panic coursing through him. But Clara's eyes were glued to her sister, whose labored breaths echoed in the stunned silence. "I can't leave her," Clara cried, pushing against the rising tide of fear. It felt like time stretched into eternity as she knelt, feeling helpless. "I need to know. Why?" "I'm sorry," her twin whispered, voice barely a thread. "You have to find the truth. Trust no one but yourself." But before she could respond, a violent shudder cracked the ground again. Clara's heart raced as dust fell like rain around them. Then everything changed. A sudden thunderous roar erupted from the chaos. The chapel walls groaned, and the ceiling began to cave in. Instinct kicked in. Flames burst to life across the altar, an inferno igniting in a single blink. Clara felt the heat lick at her skin. "Run!" she screamed, adrenaline kicking in. Just as she turned to flee, a figure appeared from the shadows, her brother. But he wasn't just her brother anymore. He had transformed into something terrifying. His eyes glinted with a fierce light, and the air around him seemed to shimmer. "Clara," he beckoned, urgency riding his every word. "You need to come with me, now!" "What happened?" She choked on the words, her fear intertwining with the fierce burning spreading across the room. A loud crack echoed, drowning out the screams. "It's not what you think. Sarah is—" He paused, his face twisting with emotion. "She's not who you think." That's when the flames surged higher, chanting a dangerous hymn. Clara stumbled back, breathless. "What does that mean? Who are we?" Her chest tightened, fear wrapping around her, making it hard to think. "I am part of a bigger scheme," he said hurriedly. Then his voice dropped to a whisper. "You have a choice. You can walk away or embrace your true legacy." The chaos in the chapel faded. All Clara could hear was her brother's words. "What legacy?" she gasped, torn between distrust and a flickering glint of hope. As if summoned by her doubt, the figure of Sarah emerged from the flames, untouched, standing proud. "Clara," her voice rang out, thrilling with terror and power. "You are my daughter. Rediscovering you was my purpose all along." The revelation hit Clara like a freight train. "What? No!" Her legs felt weak. "You can't be! Your mother made sacrifices, and now you must understand the truth about your bloodline. It will be your salvation." "Salvation?" Clara echoed, the words mocking her. "You've been lying to me!" In that moment of disbelief, sudden darkness swept through her, and the chapel erupted in chaos. Clara turned to find her brother gone, vanished into the shadows. Panic seared through her. "Where are you?" she cried, searching the faces that were now mere silhouettes to her. They were all staring at her, waiting, but for what? The flames crackled louder, a dance of destruction. And as Clara stumbled away, a horrifying thought struck her. Was anyone who they claimed to be? As everything changed around her, the only certainty left was the hot blaze of betrayal consuming her heart. And then, beneath it all, a whisper echoed in the corners of her mind, tentative yet compelling. What if her real legacy hadn't just been hidden, but twisted into something darker? Would she have the strength to face it? Clara's heart hammered against her ribs as the chapel erupted into chaos. Dust swirled around her, igniting memories and fear with every breath. Her twin sister lay on the ground, blood pooling beneath her. The flames danced closer, licking at the edges of the altar. But none of that mattered. The world had narrowed to her sister's ragged breaths. "Help her, please!" Clara's voice croaked, every ounce of strength pouring into those words. But no one moved, frozen in fear. "Clara, listen to me!" Ricardo's voice sliced through her panic, eyes wide with desperation. "We need to leave, now!" He took a step toward her, face twisted in concern. "No!" She felt a surge of anger along with her fear. "I can't just leave her here! Clara, the whole place is coming down!" Tomas shouted, trying to pull Ricardo back before the flames could spread. "We'll finish this later, but we have to get out." Tears stung Clara's eyes as the truth crashed down. She barely knew this girl, yet the connection was real. Sudden guilt for every moment, wasted, washed over her. Should she have done more? "Why did you do this?" she whispered, her voice shaking like leaves in the wind. Her twin managed a weak smile, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. "You have to remember the truth. You alone can change everything." Before Clara could comprehend, Sarah emerged from the flames, a sinister grin on her face. "Your sister is right, dear. You're just at the beginning of your journey." "Get away from her!" Clara screamed, feeling a boiling wave of rage surge through her. But as she stepped forward, her twin's body shuddered with a final breath, slipping away. "No!" Clara cried, collapsing. Beside her, the world blurred, panic clawing at her throat. "Clara, we have to go!" Ricardo's voice grew frantic, pulling her back from the abyss of despair. In that moment, something surged within her. A deep, feral strength ignited. Clara pushed to her feet, wiping her tears away with a determined shake of her head. "We won't let their darkness win. Not now." But as she turned, shadows lurked in the chapel, their whispers weaving benign promises of power and revenge. Yet the chaos around her, the flames, the crumbling walls, drummed a warning. "Clara, Tomas reached for her, but she felt the spark of truth ignite within. You are your own legacy. With her heart racing, Clara focused on the fragments of her sister's words. Remember the truth. The air shimmered with energy, and suddenly she felt a pull, a connection to the fiery heart of her family's legacy. There it was, the legacy that had betrayed them all. It coursed through her veins, and in that sacred moment, with flames roaring and shadows writhing, she understood the gravity of her choice. Together against the darkness, Clara shouted, hope soaring as she grabbed Tomas and Ricardo's hands. They formed a pact, a circle of strength in a swirl of chaos. We rise above this. As the walls crumbled, a bright light burst forth, breaking through the darkness. They charged forward, shattering the pull of fear behind them. Clara felt a swell of power, filling her chest with warm light. It burst forth, consuming the vestiges of shadows and ash. The chapel erupted in a final blaze, collapsing into eternity behind them as they stepped into a new dawn. Together they stood, united against the darkness of the past, embracing the truth that could only be born from the ashes. But even in victory, uncertainty lingered. How would they navigate the path ahead? What truths remained hidden? Clara's heart, then beyond the dawn, remained a mystery. Before this tale fades into memory, you must sign up now to catch the next chapter. Immediately subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us continue sharing these adventures. Flood the comments section with your reactions and wild theories about what might happen next. Did you expect the twists? Tell us. And don't wait one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this outcome. Your support makes all the difference.